With me is Hayley Jarvis, who's Head of Physical Activity at the mental health charity Mind. And I'm also joined by Roland Ertler, who's in Edinburgh. He found exercise made such an improvement to his mental health that he was inspired to make a career of it, swapping his office job to become a personal trainer. Welcome to both of you. Hayley, your first thoughts on what this study is saying and how much it tallies or doesn't tally with some of your experiences?
We really welcome any research that really builds on that link between physical activity and mental health. It's a significant study, 1.2 million people, and it both confirms and builds on some information that we already know. So the NHS guidelines tell us that we should be active for 150 minutes a week and that we really should build that into small bite-sized chunks. So I think it's confirming that. It also tells us that it builds resilience to developing a mental health problem such as depression. I think that's really key, that actually being active benefits us all. However, I think there's a few limitations with it as well. So the focus is particularly on depression. And I think at Mind, we'd really call for more diagnosis-specific research. So how does physical activity help with anxiety, bipolar, schizophrenia? So what we know is if you present at the doctor with mild or moderate depression, physical activity should be one of the first things that's recommended for you. So it's a really interesting study.
Because it's self-reporting, isn't it? In other words, people have come forward and said, this is what I've done, and therefore that's where some of the limitations lie.
There are some sort of academic limitations around that as well, and I think that's important, and that is one of the challenges in research, particularly in this field around self-reporting. But it's a significant study. I think it does confirm and build on, and I think some really interesting insights around team sports and overtraining. So.
Roland, what's been your experience here?
Yeah, my experience is that when I was falling into depression, I had a pregnant wife, a child also in the household. I had a bit of a career change. I didn't quite like the career I chose here in Scotland. So there was basically no way out. And I had two options. I had to go into medication and go to the GP and ask for antidepressants, or just to take up exercise and try to basically run myself out of depression. And that's actually what I did. I found that it was quite helpful to go out for 15-20 minutes just in the beginning. But then I found that the inner dialogue which I had in my mind, to clear my mind and clear my thoughts and all my worries, the muscular activity and the running helped me to do this.
And now, as I said, you've made a career of it. I don't suppose you quite had that in mind when you went out for that first run, did you?
Not at all, actually. I was always interested in sports and extracurricular activities and swimming and cycling, etc. However, when depression hit, I actually couldn't believe it. So what I did was I started running. I continued running, and then I thought, like, because the fitness industry was growing, I thought, like, I might help other people as well.
How typical, Hayley, is the kind of story we've just heard?
I think we have seen firsthand that physical activity can be life-changing. We've been running a programme called Get Set to Go with Sport England, which has reached thousands of people with mental health problems to get them active, and building up those social networks, the confidence, ability to cope and be more resilient is absolutely key. But it is not easy, as Roland said. So when you experience a mental health problem, 70% of people told us it's real hard to get started in the first place, not wanting to leave the house, all the lack of motivation and interest in things. So it can be really difficult, and that's why programmes where we bring people together are so important.
Because there is still that question mark, isn't there? Lack of activity could lead to poor mental health, or it could be a symptom of it, and we don't quite know the answer to that yet, do we?
The cause and effect, I think, is a big question in the research community, and I think we do still need more research to really understand the mechanics. We know about endorphins, we know about the feel-good hormones, serotonin, and sleeping better. But I think a lot of the cause and effect still needs to be investigated.
Roland, one other aspect of this report, of course, is the idea that you can actually do too much as well as too little. I wonder what your take is on that.
I totally agree, actually. I would say the minimum is about 45 to 60 minutes per day. In a week, maybe if you repeat it 5 times, that would be enough. And that gets you going with exercise. You can overdo it if you take up long-distance activities like running, triathlon, etc. However, when you are in the sport itself, you can learn also about recovery time and downtime, and it's part of the sport essentially. But definitely 45 minutes to 60 minutes 5 times a week is an absolute essential and probably the best practice in the fitness industry currently.
And when you talk about 45 to 60 minutes, some people watching might think that seems quite a lot. But so what falls into your category of exercise or activity when you talk about that length of time?
Definitely there is a warm-up phase to it. So you need to warm up for the exercise, and then you need to get the heart pumping, the blood flowing a bit, make sure that you start sweating, and keep up the heart rate at a quite high level, so that you're not too exhausted, but also not doing too little. Obviously, extracurricular like activities like around the house, mowing the lawn and stuff, it does help, but it's not as regular as people might think, and that's the reason why they might just do too little rather than too much. And I think people will never fall into the a mistake that they would do too much of it.
No, that was a final thought to you, Hayley, that too little is clearly worse than too much, you would think.
I think it's a real balance, and getting that status quo, and also recognising physical activity isn't for everyone. So find something you enjoy, something achievable, going for a walk, and build it up nice and slowly.
Okay, thank you both very much. Hayley Jarvis, Roland Ertl, thank you for coming in.
Thank you.